Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be previewing Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis and the rest of that card in the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester. It's a delayed card. We should have seen this one back in August, I think it was. We're finally getting that big fight. How much are we looking forward to it? What's the fight going to be like?
Big fight for both fighters, I think. I was a bit surprised Catterall's taken a fight that hasn't got a world title on the line. Sometimes we forget he hasn't got a world title. Obviously coming off the back of that Josh Taylor win, probably looked less conclusive in the rematch than he did the first fight that he lost. But a chance here, if he can beat Prograis, a lot of people are tipping him to do so, then it puts him in that mix in for a world title shot. I think in 2025 you've got Venezuela, Liam Paro, Teofimo Lopez. I think are the champions of his weight class at the moment, so fancy him hopefully to get through this Saturday and then move on to a world title shot in 2025.
Yeah, it's good to see him getting another big fight after what was, I think, a dominant performance over Josh Taylor, like the first fight, really. That a lot of people had Catterall winning easily. Because was that for Undisputed?
The
when
first
he fought
one
Taylor
was,
the first time round?
Yeah.
I don't think he was as dominant in the second fight.
He wasn't as well known as well at that time, I don't think, for a lot of people. But yeah, it's good to see him back after that win, and he's up against an opponent that has been there and done it. He's fought the likes of Taylor, he's been in the ring with Haney and all them, so he's experienced, and it's a big test for Jack Catterall because he's now got the biggest arena, I believe, up north is the Co-op Live. That comes with pressure going there, and you know, a boy from Chorley that's going to probably have that arena probably fits everyone that lives in Chorley into that massive Co-op Live arena. But yeah, it's a great fight for Catterall, and like Ben said, now that division that he's in, Venezuela, that's a massive fight there. You've got Paro, Hitchens. This could be a semi-final for that fight that's happening, I think, in Puerto Rico in the coming weeks. So yeah, why not? That's the easy route there. By the start of next year, you could have Jack Catterall, Liam Paro for a world title fight. But it's good to see that Catterall's managed to get back-to-back main events now. He went over to Leeds, which isn't too far away from Manchester, but he's technically in his hometown, and it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to that crowd and that pressure that comes with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great division in boxing. I think the lightweight and the super lightweight are two phenomenal divisions. They said you obviously mentioned Devin Haney. You've got Andy Hirooka, Japanese guy who doesn't have himself a world title, I don't think, at the moment. But Liam Paro versus Hitchens is a great fight that we're seeing. Obviously, Paro's just beaten Subriel Matias, so it's a great division, but it's also a wide open division at the moment. There's so much to fight for, and this, I think we said with Catterall Taylor that the last one is one of the best fights we'll see without a world title on the line, and I think this one is also up there as a brilliant top high level fight without a world title on the line. It does have that eliminator feel about it. It's nice to see an American coming over to the UK for once, rather than a Brit having to travel over to America and be the away fighter and the issues we know that come with that. I do see Catterall winning this one, and hopefully it not coming to a difficult decision, but if it does, you tend to think it will go Catterall's way, as we've seen in the past. So yeah, it's going to be a great fight. I remember when it first came out, it kind of came out of nowhere. It was like, when was this ever a thing? And thinking it was a great fight, and we didn't get it at the end of August when we were supposed to. We're getting it now at the end of October. Can't wait for it.
I think he's getting Prograis at the right time though as well for Catterall, because he's a big name, and if you can get a win over Prograis, then fair play to you. But I think, you know, Catterall's on a 3-fight winning streak at the moment. The only thing that I'm worried about for Prograis' side of things is his punch resistance, because he got knocked down by Devin Haney, and Devin Haney ain't known for being the big puncher.
Pillow fists, as they call it.
Yeah, so that could be a lot of confidence for Catterall coming into this fight. But yeah, he hasn't looked great in his last couple of fights as well, Prograis, but I'm expecting a very much another dominant performance by Jack Catterall. But Regis Prograis is taking this fight seriously, because last week they did a public workout on a Wednesday to go up against Boxer, I think, in it. But it just shows that when a fighter comes over early, we've seen it many of times in the past, that when they come over early, they mean business. And I think it only benefits Jack Catterall, because then it shows that it's a much better win, because, you know, for Prograis here, he has nothing to lose. He's been to the top of the sport. He's just trying to get back there where he obviously thinks he belongs. But Catterall's he's been there once, got robbed, and I think when you look back at that fight with Taylor, how the hell you can score it for Josh Taylor, I don't know, with all those knockdowns and everything. But Jack Catterall I wouldn't say he's moaned about it a lot. He's let everyone else do that. He's just focused on one thing. He's on this 3-fight winning streak now, and he has to get through Regis Prograis on Saturday night. And like you said, I think he does it, not comfortably, but I think he does it with a statement, and then he can start calling out those names in what is a brilliant division in boxing.
Are we writing off Prograis maybe a little bit? Because you said when he wins, and we were obviously talking about what's next for Catterall, but he has still got a fight against someone who's fought for, are we overlooking him?
I think, for me, the only way that Prograis wins this fight is by stopping Jack Catterall, because when Mikael Meyer came over here in January to fight Tashik Jonas, what happened there? The American got robbed, and I said in the last podcast, he called it quite clearly. But I think, listen, there's obvious things that are coming through, and I don't know. I think, like I said, he's catching him at the right time, and when you do that, it's only good. And it's a big name, because you could have had this thing for Catterall now where he beat Josh Taylor and then he wouldn't have fought now until next year. He's got this fight now, and it's a meaningful fight where if you slip up, you can come back from it, because which is a good thing. But yeah, for me, I'm not writing off Prograis, because it's boxing. Everyone's got a puncher's chance. It's a bit bad when I say it, don't it?
We always got to do it.
We have to clip up every time a boxer says it. But yeah, I just think Jack Catterall's on a different level at the moment. That he's got so much confidence now. He's got that revenge win over Josh Taylor, which when I look back at that fight, all I've got is Bob Arum in that ring. How the hell he got in the ring in the first place, I don't know. On that microphone going, this is the biggest robbery in boxing, blah, blah, blah. But it was a brilliant fight, a brilliant performance by him. And I'm not writing off Prograis, but I just think Jack Catterall is the man in this division at the moment.
Yeah, Prograis struggled against Devin Haney. I think he was completely outboxed in that fight.
Massively struggled.
I don't think many people give Catterall the credit he deserves in terms of his boxing IQ as well. But I think, like you said, Prograis will come to try and take his head off on Saturday. I think that's his way of trying to win this fight, to turn it into a dog fight and just try and take him out early. But Catterall is quite good. He can fight out of range, or he can fight on the inside. He can do a bit of both. So I think either way will play into his hands a bit. I feel like he does need to win this fight, because lose to Prograis and the risk of losing those world title opportunities is a possibility then, because you've got so many good fighters of that weight class, and they're all sort of lining up for their opportunity. So if you lose a fight and drop down the pecking order, then sometimes you've got to rebuild again and wait your turn. But hopefully he gets through this, gets his world title shot. He should already be probably a undisputed champ, but he isn't, and he's obviously gonna want to get that world title.
I think style-wise as well with Catterall, you'd probably liken him most to someone like Devin Haney in terms of how he fights, very much on the back foot with that low guard and this. So I think it will be a tough night for Prograis because of that, because of the evidence we've seen. But you just never know. I think what we do need to do is congratulate you, Harry, for not going on a 4-minute preview at the start, covering every fight. You've done really well.
I know.
I can see you physically holding yourself back.
That's why Ben started. I think if I started, I would have gone off on one. But this card for me, I think when it was first announced, they had this fight. I believe Ellie. What's her name?
Ellie Scotney.
Ellie Scotney was on it. Her fight's off. I think they even had Johnny Fisher against Rudenki on this card as well. Obviously now Fisher's over in Saudi. It's great. It's a great card. I think the fight that I think everyone's going to be talking about this weekend, the highlight of the night, is Reece Belloti, Michae Gomez Jr. I think that is one hell of a scrap. British and Commonwealth super featherweight title on the line there, and we've seen it a lot, not in recent times, not last weekend. With Dan Aziz and Lewis Edmondson, that fight was probably, when you look at all the British title fights we've had this year, probably the one close to the bottom. This one's got the ingredients of something to be something special, and it's a bit of a resurgence for Belloti from his win back in April 2022, when he stopped, I think it was Dean Dodge in like 6 rounds or 7 rounds for the Southern Area title. But Michae Gomez Jr. has got something about him, and I think he's got this power, and I just think this fight's got everything to be potentially fight of the weekend for me.
Yeah, I think it'll be fight of the night. Belloti's obviously already been involved in a British title classic at the start of the year against Liam Dillon, where I think he won the British title in that one, didn't he?
He had the Commonwealth. He won the British in that one.
He had a bit more of a comfortable defence then against Levi Giles in the middle of the year. But Michae Gomez Jr., as soon as he got that stoppage win against Kane Baker, this was the fight I was calling for after that. I think this is set up for a really good fight, and it's a close one to call. Mm-hmm. Like, they both sort of at the right times of their career clashing at the right time, so you don't often always get it that way, so it's an hard one to call, I think.
And if Belloti wins this fight on Saturday night, he wins the British title outright as well, and that's something.
Is he not one more? It's not 3 defences you've got to do.
I think he's already had 3 defences.
He's done 2 defences, I think. He won it and then 2 defences.
Oh no, he can take another step towards winning the prestigious British title. Yes, you are correct. But it doesn't get. It's not easy against Michae Gomez Jr., is it? Let's be honest.
No, like you say, we always say it. The British title fights are always great. In some way, obviously the Dan Aziz, Lewis Emerson, like you say, is probably one of the worst ones. But even Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark 2, you see a huge first round knockout. The first one was a 12-round war. Liam Dillon versus Reece Belloti was a fight we bang on about all the time, about a possibility for fight of the year, and the fact that was back in February, that feels like an absolute age ago. Yeah. Some far too many hours in this studio with you boys. It's
we need to work out how long we've actually been in the studio together. So I think it's too long.
Too long. I'm sure the fans are saying the same thing. Everyone on Instagram comments
talking all this.
This guy spends far too long on the podcast. Put attacks on mics, all of that rubbish. Brilliant fight. And another fight on there. Campbell Hatton, James Flint. Or I suppose I should say James Flint, Campbell Hatton, because that's the way round it is. James Flint got the victory. Campbell Hatton looking to avenge his loss. Now working with Ben Davison, it looks like it's going to be a good fight. And Campbell Hatton perhaps is able to, if he can get through this, then kick on to the levels that maybe he promised. Probably not the levels of his old man, but certainly the levels that were promised of him.
No, he's been under a lot of pressure, hasn't he, because of his old man and how much of a character he was in the sport and how much he was loved across the UK. So it was always that comparison of, is he going to be as good as him? And it's always difficult when you've got that added pressure so early in your career. I don't think we've seen the best of that on that night, and obviously he's made the right move now, I think, to go to a different gym and test himself, probably get in maybe a bit better level of sparring. And I think we'll see a better version of him this weekend, and he needs a win here, really, to get a... If he loses again against Flint, it's really difficult to come back from, I think.
I think it says a lot about him as a character as well, going straight back in for the rematch. Normally, how many times have we seen a guy get their first professional loss and think, hang on, I'm going to take a step back from this level, go and find myself again, go and find a new trainer. He's done all that, and he's still stepping in against James Flint, and I think that just says a lot about him personally. And for me, I know there's pressure that comes with the name and all that, but he's a different person and all that, and I think that's what you're going to see a lot of this week, is that James Flint's going to play that the heel in this sort of thing, if you're going to say it that way, that you're not like your father. You're right, mate, he's not like his father, he's his son. The completely different fighter he's going to be, but he's in his hometown of Manchester. He's a huge Manchester City supporter, and I think if he doesn't get through this fight on Saturday night, then where does his career go from there? Is there a career for Campbell Hatton after Saturday night? That's pressure, because we talked about last weekend with Adam Azim and O'Hara Davis. There was pressure there, because if Azim couldn't get through Davis, where does he go? Where's his level? If Hatton can't get through Flint on Saturday night, you need to start looking around and thinking, this is central area is your glass ceiling, and you can't get through it.
Their first fight was for the southern area title, so if you can't win at southern area title level, then it's really difficult to. Well, that's your first step in terms of a pro. In many aspects, most of them will get that as their first title. If you can't even pick that up, then it's difficult to move past that point. But I think we'll see a different Hatton this weekend. I think the changes will benefit him. Flint is obviously coming off the back of a loss as well. He's had a fight since the first fight.
Oh, wow,
he lost to Kyle Boyd, a really tough Scottish fighter.
Was that for the Celtic title then, maybe?
I'm not too sure if it was for a title, but I think did he get stopped?
IBO Continental Superfly, and he lost on a split decision. It was a close.
But Kyle
I don't remember that fight.
Kyle Boyd is a good fighter, and like it might give Hatton, if Flint was going in off the back of the win against Hatton himself, then he might be a bit more full of confidence. He still is going to be confident because he rightly won that first fight. I think he dominated most of the fight, but I think it was a bit of experience and a bit of dragging him into the fight that Hatton didn't really need to, and I think he would have learnt now going into this fight to use his skills, and there's no doubt with the people he's had around him from a young age will be able to teach him to perform better than what he done in our first fight. So, and
he's at the right gym. I think that Ben Davison gym down there, coached I think by Barry Smith, just have them around him on a daily basis, and they're in Essex, aren't they, that gym? So he's moved himself away from up north, and he's come down here to properly now dedicate himself to it. So he's put a lot of time and effort into this fight on Saturday night, and I just think now you've said that about Flint coming off a loss, could that be a mental scar in the background that the pressure of him needing to get back to winning ways could play into the hands of Campbell Hatton? But like I said, I'm expecting a lot this week of the referring back to your father's son, you're never going to be like him and all that. I think every time he says that, we should have a pound or something. Every time he says it, because it's coming. Because you saw him face to face, and like Campbell Hatton said, there's no pressure. You know, I'm my own person. I got a family, and I want him to win. I want Campbell to win because I think he's good for the sport. Because when you look at the Foreman names, you've got Chris Eubank Jr., you've got Conor Benn. They bring eyeballs because they bring the generation that before us were watching the dads fight. Now they're watching their sons fight, and I think this is where Campbell Hatton now shines, and what a platform to do it on in the biggest arena in his city that he's from. And I do expect to see a much better Campbell Hatton, because every time that gym has a loss, the fight that comes out of that gym for the rematch or in their next fight looks a completely different fighter. So I'm expecting a really good Campbell Hatton on Saturday night, potentially the best we've seen of him yet in his professional career.
Well, yeah, I certainly hope so. And then, you know, even when you look down this card, you've got Joe McGrail, quality fight, another one that comes out of that gym in Liverpool with Nick Ball, Brad Strand, Peter McGrail, of course. Really strong, 50% knockout rate, which is probably quite low for that gym. They probably consider him to be a lighter puncher amongst them. But he's in with a good fight as well, up against Lewis Morris, 8-2. Boston's another one on the card as well, another exciting fighter on there.
I was just going to say that Joe McGrail is one for Welsh boxing fans in particular to keep an eye out for as well, because he's around the likes of Joshua Jordan, Brandon Scott. So I don't know whether they'd go in against each other, but it's one you could possibly see in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't be against that.
And then Janae Boston is an exciting fighter. Every time he brings fireworks, he brings excitement, and he's in with maybe not the fight you'd want to see. I think there's great fights for him out there, and obviously those fights will come. He comes off the back of a strong victory over Jack Martin, I think it was, and yeah, I think he's another one of those matchroom fighters that we're seeing that maybe hasn't had as many opportunities because there's not been as many shows in this country as perhaps previously, but I certainly think it'll be a good and exciting performance on this one.
Yeah, he's a real character, and Boston. He's very confident, and we've seen him at other shows. He's turned up at like Queensbury shows and stuff as well.
Yeah,
and
squaring up to all three Fail brothers, I think it was
I think
the
him
video.
and Ben Fail obviously share the weight class, so that'd be one I'd really like to watch, but obviously they're quite early in their career. Whether you want to take a risk in that type of fight, I don't know, but I think he's got to the point now where, like you said, you want to see him take that step up. I think he's had plenty of tune-up fights, but we haven't really seen him tested, and he's obviously really confident. He thinks he can beat whoever's put in front of him, and there's no doubt if you offered him a bigger fight, I think he'd take it. But yeah, I'd like to, after this now, another win. I think he'll move to 10-0 at that point, and I'd like to see him in a bit of a tougher test next. We talked about Sam Gilly and Louis Green, like they fighters around his weight class. Him stepping up against someone like that, possibly.
Even McGann.
Yeah,
McGann.
Just something a bit. See a bit more of him, I think.
You want to see him get tested and get pushed and go deep into fights as well, and I think that's where you learn a lot. So yeah, I think I'm a big advocate for all these fighters now that get to a certain stage in their professional career where it's time to take that next step and that roll of the dice. And I think if he gets through unscathed here, Junaid Boston could potentially fight maybe one more time this year against at the same level of an opponent, and then you start 2025 with a meaningful fight that potentially has rankings that you can get into the top 10 in Britain, and you can push up from there. And yeah, like Ben said, he's a good character to have in boxing, and you need characters like him in boxing, because if you don't, it gets a bit stale.
He'll sell a fight as well, won't he?
Yeah, he's that
even on an undercard, he's the type of, you watch a press conference and he's the one that sort of catches your eye because he'll say something and get his opponent riled up. It's the one that you might not necessarily be watching the fight card for him, but in the end you'll be thinking, oh, he's one I want to keep an eye on because he seems interesting. He seems like an interesting character.
Yeah, you do need those kind of up and down the cards. It adds excitement. And a fight that I missed out when I was when we were kind of going down through them there was Pat McCormack.
Yes.
Olympic silver medalist in Tokyo, Team GB, 5-0 now.
Going for his first title.
Really good fighter
WBA
as well.
Intercontinental title. And we saw on the weekend Fran Hennessy get her first professional title. It's the same for him, and he's up against a very durable Argentinian in William Andreas Herrera, former opponent of Paddy Donovan. And listen, I think this is a great fight, a great learning fight, and for someone who's 5-0 to take on this sort of level, you got to give him massive props to it. And you know, he's a Sunderland boy, he's a Geordie boy.
Oh, don't say that.
Is he
He's
not?
a Mackham if he's from Sunderland.
Okay.
Geordie is before you've just offended a lot of people there. Never mind.
And there's the clip from this podcast. Oh, it's a good job I'm editing it, so
I can still find a way. No,
Yeah,
but
I'd clip that up. See what
yeah, he comes from. I think he.
they're all well. Yeah, all right.
don't
not finish that sentence.
Yeah, don't go away.
He's I think he's one of the best British fighters coming up through at the moment. He obviously had Olympic silver medalist. If you get an Olympic medal, you are a top amateur, and to move at the pace he has, he's another one under the stewardship of Ben Davison, isn't he? I believe,
Yes.
with the gym. And I think I saw him down at the York Hall. I didn't catch him for an interview, but he looked confident. He just had, and people just have that kind of energy about them, they carry themselves well. 80% KO rate to this day, all but one. It's going to be a good fight, isn't it?
Solid.
Yeah, it's a big fight for him. To move to 6-0, get your first title, was moving a pretty good pace, all things considered, when you look at some other fighters. So, and Herrera is tough. I think Donovan did stop him, I think, out in Ireland. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, so it'd be a good test for him, I think.
Yeah.
And then down at the bottom, you've got Emily Whitworth as well, making her pro debut. That's another Team GB fighter. She's fighting the person that Anthony Yard was fighting last week, TBA. So we'll
Gets
see how
about
that
a bit,
goes.
don't they?
Yeah, to be announced on the opponent, but that's
By the time this podcast goes out, she will have an opponent.
I'm sure, and it's your pro debut. It's not really about who you're fighting; it's that you're fighting.
Yeah, getting that experience.
So I think that she's certainly one to keep an eye out for down in the bantamweight division. Will Crolla fighting as well. Obviously, a lot of people know Anthony Crolla from training Rhiannon Dixon, and a very good fighter in his own right. You can play with him on Undisputed as well. He's on there.
One of how many fighters on Undisputed?
A fair few.
A lot of people have complained about that game. We haven't talked about it much on this podcast.
Should we do that now, real quick?
Well, you
What's
two
your
have been.
thoughts, Ben?
He's been playing it non-stop.
I really like it. I think the more you play it, the more.
I think it
So
grows
what
on you.
are people complaining about then? Is it the lack of fighters? Is it the lack of when
I
you
think people always find something to
I think-
complain about, don't they?
I think it's the style of the gameplay is what people don't like. When you first start playing it, it feels slow, it feels sort of awkward, sluggish a little bit more real in terms of closer to actual boxing than sort of an arcadey style game. But I think the more and more you play it, the more enjoyable it gets. I like it. I started a career, but I couldn't. The face customization is so like in depth.
Have you seen
Like,
his one?
You can change the like depth of their eye sockets. I don't know how deep my eye sockets are, so I just half-assed it. And then after like 5 fights, I was like, do you know what? I know I need to reset this, do it properly.
He's got Peter Wright on steroids. He has.
Yeah,
Just got a big lump of
Mr.
heavyweight
Punches,
and just
whatever his name
throws
was.
big punches.
He's literally got the Murphy meathead in real life.
Yeah, but no, I like Undisputed, and like I said, you can play as Anthony Crolla if you want, or there's so many. If you think there's so many fighters in World Box, there's so many fighters. How do you even begin to have everyone? Everyone's always going to be annoyed that somebody's not on it.
And it's the cost of them as well. Like they spoke about some fighters asking for like a 10 million upfront payment to be on the game. Like
Yeah, it's a
in
small
terms
company.
of a small company that start in their first game, it's no doubt it's gonna get bigger as they go on, and I think it'll probably light the fire under some other bigger games companies.
EA have
They
been
don't
talking
really-
about-
That's the thing at EA, ain't it?
I
Talking
think,
about
more,
Fight
I
Night,
think
yeah.
more than likely they'll see the amount of interest it's garnered and will bring back Fight Night, which I'm hoping for because I still love Fight Night. I still play it now, even though it's like
Have you become undisputed yet?
I have, yeah.
I haven't. No, I haven't played it that much.
He's become undisputed about 4 times probably.
Too busy editing podcast, boys. I don't know about you. I got important things to do. I don't have time for rubbish like that. But
Now we said that, I'm editing this podcast today. Oh,
so now I'll have time to go
Yeah.
Undisputed on the career mode. So yeah, that's that card up and down. It's a solid card. It's another.
Stephen Clark as well. That's the one name we missed out.
Yeah.
Another Liverpudlian.
good ticket salary it is.
He's done I was looking at his record as well, and he's sort of done a tour of the Puncher's Chance journeyman because
Has he?
he's fought Jordan Granham, Artem Spatar, and Jensen Irvin.
Oof, all the boys.
So he's got a good resume in terms of journeyman.
Fair enough. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one.
He'll be quite high up the card as well, won't he? Because
I don't know. I don't know.
he's
Where
out,
it'll be.
no, he was last time he fought. Yeah,
It's not
he's a
always on
good-
ticket sales. It depends, I suppose.
Mm.
But he's also fighting TBA at the moment over 6 rounds. So it's a busy night for them. We'll see how that one goes. There's only one thing for it, boys. Harry's favourite time of the week.
Mhm.
Boxing News app predictions. We're not sponsored by the Boxing News app yet. We should be. Give us a ring, boys. But if you want to do your predictions alongside us, then download the app, sign up. You can find us on the leaderboard. Harry will be down somewhere near the bottom.
Yeah, for a change, Ben was quite close to the top this week, wasn't he?
Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah, I think you did quite well. So
well, you won out of us 3 because his
You
ones
did, yeah.
don't count.
yeah, I didn't put him in last
Yeah.
week. So the first one on the card, certainly on this on the app card, Campbell Hatton versus James Flint, super lightweight 10 rounder. The rematch, as we said. What are we going for, boys?
Campbell Hatton points decision win.
Yeah, I've gone the same. I think he's gonna get the win in the rematch. I think he needs it, and I think he'll pick up a points decision win.
My app's logged me out, but I am going to go for a Campbell Hatton
Yeah,
points
look at the
decision
excuses
win.
coming in
no,
now.
No, I'm already back in. Pat McCormack, welterweight, 10 rounder versus
Oh, mine's
Williams.
actually done it. now as well.
Andres Herrera.
McCormack stoppage. I'm going for.
I'm going for the same. Let me guess. Harry's going to go for the same. You can tell he hasn't done his research this week.
No, not this one.
because he's panicking.
Yeah, McCormack stoppage. Yeah, why not?
Uh,
Let's be boring.
Reece Belloti, Michae Gomez Jr, super featherweight 12 rounder. Harry,
This
what
could
are you
be one
going
that
for?
splits us, I think.
I think it probably will be.
I like Gomez Jr, so I'm going to go Gomez Jr. Do I think he stops him? Points decision.
What are you going for, Ben?
Gomez Jr.'s won Central Area an English title. I think he wins the British title now, so I've gone for Gomez Jr. points as well.
Boom.
I'm going for a Reece Belloti points decision. I think
I know
he's,
it's split us somewhere.
I think he's done everything that he needs to do up to this point to suggest it will be a tough fight, Michael Gomez Jr. But I'll back him. in that one. Jack Catterall, Regis Prograis, super lightweight 12 rounder. I think we might all go for the same on this one. Catterall points decision win.
No, I think he's got this big platform, big arena, the biggest night of his career because of the magnitude of the fight. I think Jack Catterall stops him.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I've gone for the same.
Oh no, we're gonna draw.
Me and you have got.
It's gonna be down to the rounds, right? Hang on then. All right,
got to lock in for the rounds. We'll see. We'll see who wins that one. It's always a shame when these cards they don't have quite all of the fights. I like it when I get all the fights. I want the all the way down at the bottom as well. But you never know.
I've done my rounds.
What have we gone for?
Right, we'll do it at the same time.
Right. 3.
Let me submit that.
No, you can't. Not you can't count down, Harry. You're in. I'll 3, 2, 1.
39. Oh, okay.
It's gonna be close. There's gonna be a winner. You haven't split it halfway. I don't know how that works. If you
imagine if we both went 36.
Yeah, that would have been.
It would be. Who would win then? You would, because of your surname. No, it would go down to your first name,
which you'd also win with. So
not surname though.
Yeah,
first name.
Surname he wins.
TT. Thomas.
TH.
Yeah, he would win that as well. You're all right.
You thought Thomas starts with 2 T's?
My middle name's Thomas, so
with 2 T's. Anyway, so that's the boxing news app. The predictions, like I said, if you want to join us with that, feel free to. Otherwise, we'll catch you all next week for obviously reviewing this show. And I can't remember off the top of my head, but there is another good card coming up next
November
week.
2nd.
November 2nd.
I can't believe it's already November.
For the life of me, I've forgotten who's on it.
Where's this year gone?
Look.
November next week.
There is a fight card on November 2nd.
Jesus.
Yeah, it is.
He will get it.
It's going to be really underwhelming when I finally find it. It's going to be
2nd.
Liam Davis, Shabazz Massoud.
That is
Chantal Cameron,
Birmingham.
Echo Esserman, Ezra Taylor in Birmingham.
That's not another Magnificent 7, is it? It's just a normal.
Looks like it. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I mean, how have we?
Birmingham's the capital for that now, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some really good fights on there. So we got that to look forward to. Like I said, always check out our Spotify for our audio episodes, Instagram for shorts and reels, Twitter for news updates, all sorts on there. Otherwise, just subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you all next week.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.